Welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast with your hosts, Shri and Deep. Atra Shura Maheshwasa Bhimarjun Sama Yuddhi. Yudhano Viratascha Drupadascha Maharatha.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're really excited for today's topic. You know, sometimes on this show, we take on a huge topic and we explore it over multiple episodes.
Yeah.
But today we're going to go laser focused. Just one single verse, but with a deep dive and really try to unpack everything we can out of it.
Yeah, a single verse might not sound like much,
Right.
but, especially in a text like the Bhagavad Gita,
Right.
every single line is packed with meaning and nuance.
Right. It can be psychological. It can be symbolic, even strategic meaning, all packed into, just a handful of words.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the verse we're looking at today is Bhagavad Gita, Chapter-1, verse 4.
Okay. And we're going to be drawing on some really great discussions and commentaries about this verse to help us unpack it. So we're not just, coming up with this stuff on our own,
Right.
but we're going to be drawing on some great scholarship that's already out there.
Absolutely.
All right. So for those who aren't familiar, Chapter 1, verse 4, I'm just going to read the basic translation here, and then we'll dive into what it all means.
Okay.
It says, "Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, Yudhana, Virata, and Drupada, the great chariot warriors."
So to really appreciate this verse, you have to kind of picture the scene, right? So we're right at the beginning of the Kurukshetra War, this epic clash between the Pandavas and the Kauravas.
Right.
And this is Chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And the speaker of this verse is Duryodhana,
Right. He is the leader
the leader of the Kauravas.
of the Kauravas.
He's looking out at the opposing army, the Pandav army.
And he's not just, idly looking out.
Yeah.
He's actually speaking to his teacher, Dronacharya.
Right, one of the greatest military strategists of the time.
And Dronacharya is also the teacher of the Pandavas.
That's right, which
Yeah.
adds this whole other layer of complexity to the situation.
Right, like there's definitely some psychological stuff going on there.
Yeah, so Duryodhana is like pointing out these warriors in the Pandava army, and his words are not just a simple report, they're a window into his own mind.
Right, his anxieties.
His fears.
And he's trying to, it seems like size up the competition and in a way influence Drona.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a strategic element to it.
Like ancient military psychology, right?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
trying to, manage the perceptions of everyone around him.
Absolutely.
Okay. So he starts off in Sanskrit. It's Atra Shuro Mahovasa,
Which translates to...
which translates to, "Here are mighty heroes with great bows." So right away, he's acknowledging the skill of the Pandava warriors.
Right. And remember, in ancient warfare, archery was paramount.
Yeah, these are the elite fighters of the time.
Right? These are not just your average foot soldiers. These are the best of the best.
That sharpshooters, yeah.
Yeah, the sharpshooters.
Okay.
And then he goes on to say, Bhimarjuna Sama Yuddhi,
Okay.
which means equal to Bhima and Arjuna in battle. Now, when you hear the names, Bhima and Arjuna,
I mean, those are like the superstars, right?
exactly like you're talking about the LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
Right, like everyone knows how strong those two are.
The most powerful, the strongest on the Pandava side.
Yeah, they represent this immense destructive force.
Right.
So when he's saying that there are other warriors who are on par with Bhima and Arjuna, it's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, and I think it raises the question, what is he trying to do here?
Right. Is he being sincere? Is he trying to psych himself up? Is he trying to scare Drona? Is he just trying to be, a little...
Maybe a little bit of all of those. But he's definitely trying to make a point.
undermining the enemy at the same time.
Right.
Okay. So he sets the stage with these heavy hitters,
Right.
and then he gets more specific and starts naming names.
Right.
So first up is Utana, also known as Satyaki. So tell us a little bit about Satyaki.
So Satyaki is a fascinating figure. He's a warrior from the Yadava clan. He's known for his fierce loyalty to Krishna. And what's really interesting is he was trained by Arjuna himself in archery.
Oh, so he's got that direct lineage.
He has that direct lineage of training from one of the greatest archers ever.
And the commentaries say that he was considered almost as skilled as Arjuna.
Yeah, some even say that he was the only warrior who could match Arjuna shot for shot.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so symbolically then, what does Satyaki represent?
Well, I think he represents this combination of incredible skill discipline and unwavering loyalty.
So that's like strength and power used for a righteous purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not just a powerful warrior, he's a powerful warrior who's fighting on the side of dharma.
Okay, so that's Satyaki.
Yeah.
Next on the list, Duryodhana mentions Virata.
Okay.
Now, Virata isn't necessarily known as this fearsome, unstoppable warrior in the same way as like Bhima or Arjuna, right?
That's right.
He's more of a behind-the-scenes guy.
Yeah.
But he's really important nonetheless. So tell us about Virata.
So King Virata is significant because he was the one who provided shelter to the Pandavas during their exile.
Oh, right.
You know, when they had to live in disguise for a year.
Yeah.
Virata gave them refuge, he gave them protection, he gave them support.
Yeah. He gave them jobs, right? Like they were all working in his palace in disguise.
Exactly.
And he was really instrumental in helping them get through that difficult period.
Absolutely.
So even though he's not like a, frontline warrior,
yeah,
he's still super important.
Yeah, and I think his inclusion here really highlights the importance of allies.
Right. It's not just about your individual strength. It's about who stands with you.
Exactly.
Virata embodies that spirit of support and solidarity.
Yeah, and it's also about having a strong foundation. You know, you need people, you can trust people who will have your back.
Right. He's the rock.
He's the rock.
Okay, and then the last warrior that Duryodhana names is Drupada.
Drupada.
And this one feels particularly charged because there's a whole backstory with Drona.
Oh yeah, big time.
So tell us a little bit about the relationship between Drupada and Drona.
So Drupada and Drona, actually, they go way back. They were childhood friends.
Wow, so this is a real, betrayal situation here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But their friendship kind of fell apart due to pride, ego, and broken promises.
That's familiar.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And ultimately, their relationship turned into this bitter rivalry.
So they basically became enemies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Drupada actually suffered a pretty humiliating defeat at the hands of Drona, which just further fueled his desire for revenge.
Wow, yeah. You can imagine there's some bad blood there.
Oh, yeah.
So when Duryodhana mentions Drupada, it feels almost like a deliberate psychological tactic. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like he's trying to get under Drona's skin.
Yeah, it's like, look at this guy who hates you, who wants revenge against you.
He's fighting on the other side.
He's a formidable warrior.
Yeah, and you're the one who, kind of created this enemy.
Exactly. You taught him everything he knows.
It's like he's playing mind games with Drona.
Definitely mind games.
It's so interesting, right? Because you see how these personal histories, these, personal karmas, they can have such a huge impact on these major events.
It's like those personal conflicts, they spill over into these, epic battles, and they can change the course of history.
It's fascinating. Okay, now all three of these warriors, Yuhana, Virata, and Drupada, they're all given the title of Maharatha.
Yeah.
So I think we should unpack what that title actually means.
Right. Maharatha is not just like your average warrior.
Yeah.
It signifies a warrior of legendary status, someone who is far beyond the ordinary.
So like a superhero almost?
Yeah, kind of like a superhero.
All right.
To put it in perspective, just to give you an idea of the scale of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Arathi was a warrior who was considered capable of fighting 5,000 soldiers simultaneously.
Whoa, okay. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah,
That's already a lot.
right.
Yeah.
Then you have an Atirathi who could take on multiple Rathis.
Well.
And then you have the Maharatha who is said to be capable of single-handedly battling 72,000 soldiers.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
It's mind-boggling.
It's like an army unto himself.
Exactly.
Okay, so when Duryodhana uses this term, he's acknowledging the immense power of the warriors he's up against.
Yeah, he's basically saying these guys are not to be trifled with.
Right. This is not going to be an easy fight.
And it really amplifies just the epic scale of this war.
Yeah.
It's not just a skirmish between a couple of small armies. These are titans clashing.
Yeah.
It's a battle for the ages.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the literal battlefield now. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the symbolic and the philosophical interpretations of this verse.
Right, because as we know, the Bhagavad Gita is not just about a physical war.
Right.
It's also about the inner battles that we all face within ourselves,
That's right.
our own internal Kurukshetra.
Right.
So if we look at this verse through that lens, these warriors that are named, they can actually represent different inner forces that are at play within our own mind.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So how would we interpret, say, Duryodhana in this inner landscape?
So Yuhana, with his incredible skill, his discipline, his loyalty to Krishna and to what's right, he could represent our own disciplined will, that part of us that's striving for excellence, that's committed to truth, that's focused on what's right.
Like our inner drive.
Our inner drive, our inner strength, the part of us that keeps us on the path.
Yeah, okay.
So he's like our inner warrior.
And what about Virata?
So Virata, the one who provided shelter and support, he could represent our inner resources, our values, our faith, our self-belief.
The things that we rely on when things get tough.
Exactly, like a source of inner strength and stability.
Like our inner sanctuary.
Yeah, like our inner sanctuary.
And then there's Drupada.
Drupada.
So with all this baggage from the past, with all this, resentment and desire for revenge, what could he represent?
So Drupada could represent those unresolved issues that we all carry, those past hurts, the traumas, the grudges, the anger that can sometimes cloud our judgment and create conflict within ourselves.
Yeah, like those parts of us that we haven't fully dealt with yet.
Exactly. Those are the inner enemies that we need to confront.
And this really ties into the larger narrative of the Bhagavad Gita, where the Pandavas, they're often seen as representing like the higher self.
Right.
The soul striving for liberation.
Yeah.
And the Kauravas represent like the lower tendencies, the ego, the greed, the anger, all the things that hold us back.
Absolutely. And this verse kind of gives us this microcosm of that larger struggle.
It's really fascinating. Now, the discussions we've been looking at, they also talk about the 3 levels of truth in Vedanta philosophy and how they relate to this verse.
Yeah, it's a really interesting framework for understanding what's going on here.
Yeah, so can you break down those 3 levels of truth for us?
Sure. So the first level is called Vyavaharika.
Okay.
And that's like our everyday experience, the world as we perceive it through our senses.
So in this case, that's like the actual battlefield, the warriors, the chariots, all that.
Exactly.
Okay.
The second level is called Pratipasika. And that's our subjective reality, our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions.
So that's like Duryodhana's inner world, his fears, his motivations, why he's choosing to highlight these specific warriors.
Right.
Okay.
And then the third level is the Paramarthika.
Okay.
And that's the ultimate reality, the absolute truth.
And in Vedanta, that's often understood as like the divine reality or the Brahman.
Right. The idea that everything is interconnected, everything is part of this divine cosmic play.
So even these, seemingly independent actors on the battlefield, they're ultimately part of something much bigger.
Yeah, it's like they're all instruments in this grand orchestra.
And they're playing out their roles.
Playing out their roles according to this cosmic script.
Really fascinating.
It is.
So it's like 3 different ways of looking at the same event.
Right. And each level adds another layer of meaning.
Yeah.
So you have the Vyavaharika, the surface level, then you have Pratibhasika, the psychological level, and then the Paramarthika, this ultimate cosmic level. And by understanding all 3 levels, we can get a much deeper appreciation for what's really happening in this verse.
Yeah, and finally, I think it's important to mention how different commentators have interpreted this verse.
Yeah, because there are so many different perspectives on the Bhagavad Gita.
Right. It's been studied and commented on for centuries.
For millennia, really.
Right. And it's amazing how one verse can evoke such a wide range of interpretations.
It really speaks to the depth and richness of this text.
Okay, so for example, Adi Shankaracharya.
Yeah.
How did he interpret this verse?
So Shankaracharya, one of the most renowned Vedanta philosophers, he often saw the entire Mahabharata, including this war, as taking place within the realm of Maya.
Okay.
The cosmic illusion.
Right.
So for him, even these powerful warriors and these epic battles, they're ultimately part of this divine play.
Okay.
It's not that they're not real,
Right.
but they're not the ultimate reality. They're like waves on the ocean. They appear and disappear, but the ocean remains.
And what about Swami Chinmayananda?
So Chinmayananda, he really focused on the psychological aspects of the Gita.
Okay.
And he suggested that Duryodhana's words, they might actually be masking some deeper insecurity.
Yeah.
He's pointing out all these great warriors, but maybe he's doing that because he's actually afraid.
Right. It's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to convince himself as much as he's trying to convince Drona.
Right.
Because deep down he knows he's facing a formidable foe.
Right.
And then Srila Prabhupada, founder of the ISK Khan movement, he had a really interesting take on this verse.
Yeah. What was his perspective?
So Prabhupada pointed out that even those who are on the side of dharma, like Duryodhana, they can sometimes recognize and even praise the virtues of those who are righteous.
Okay.
So he saw Duryodhana's words as a kind of grudging admiration.
Okay.
He's acknowledging the strength and the skill of the Pandava warriors, even though he's their enemy.
Right. He can't help but acknowledge their greatness.
Exactly.
So it's like even in the midst of this conflict, there's this recognition of the good qualities on the other side.
Right, and I think that's a really powerful message.
Yeah.
Because it suggests that even our enemies can teach us something.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of disagreement and conflict, there's always something to learn from the other side.
Really insightful.
It is.
So as we've seen this one verse, it's so much more than just a list of names.
Right.
It's a glimpse into military strategy. It's a study in psychology.
Right.
It's a reflection of our own internal battles. And it's a doorway into these profound philosophical truths.
And I think one of the key takeaways here is that true strength, it goes beyond just physical prowess or military might.
Yeah.
It's also about character.
Uh-huh.
It's about integrity. It's about aligning yourself with dharma, with what's right.
Yeah.
And the warriors that are named in this verse, they embody those qualities.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remember that many of the battles that we face, they're not fought on an external battlefield.
Right.
They're fought within ourselves.
Yeah. Our own internal kukshetra.
Yeah. And I love this idea of thinking about the different warriors as representing different parts of ourselves.
Yeah. It's a really powerful analogy.
Right. So as you go through your day, as you face challenges, ask yourself, who's your yutana?
Yeah.
Who's that inner strength, that discipline that's going to help you stay on track?
And who's your virata?
Right.
Where do you find support and refuge within yourself?
What are those values that you can always lean on?
Yeah.
And perhaps most importantly, who's your drupada?
Yeah.
What are those unresolved issues from the past, those negative tendencies, those inner enemies that you need to confront?
Because by becoming aware of those inner warriors, we can start to navigate our own internal landscape with more wisdom and skill.
Yeah, it's like self-knowledge is the first step to self-mastery.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this has been an incredible deep dive
It has.
into just one verse.
Yeah, who knew that a single verse could hold so much?
So much.
It's amazing.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the Bhagavad Gita, and we hope you'll continue to explore these profound teachings with us.
Absolutely. Until next time,
Keep seeking.
keep seeking.